I'm tired of being confined, Tyler's Dick was saying. You feel constricted? Tyler asked. He looked up in dumb appeal. I'm stuck in your pants all day. Looking down, I can let you out, but first tell me, are you a penis or a phallus? That's a distinction without a difference. Au contraire, little man, you haven't been listening. I'm not noted for my listening ability. Sounds like you're a phallus to me, Tyler told his Dick. We have lots of room for penises, but Mama don't allow no phalluses round here. Let my people go. Nice try, but wrong color. Look, son, it's risky when you come out. You could get damaged. The phallic liberation movement is in its infancy. I thought you cousins were all about freedom. In theory, in practices, free phalluses are dangerous. Who says? Well, Deborah does, and so does Mary and Sue, and Jemima most every time I see her. And there was this lecture in We Wine You Listen class last week, and Ramona says so too, and of course, most emphatically, Baba. And then there's that bitch Nora. Erno spotted his mother moving toward his side of the room. He slipped past the constable into the hall. There was a restroom and a couple of other doors. A gale of laughter washed in from the club behind him at the climax of Tyler's story. Cursing his mother, Erno went into the restroom. No one was there. He could still hear the laughter, but not the cause of it. His mother's presence had cut him out of the community of male watchers as neatly as if she had used a baton. Erno felt murderously angry. He switched on a urinal and took a piss. Over the urinal, a window played a scene in Central Park on Earth of 100 years ago. A night scene of a pathway beneath some trees as large as the largest in Sobieski Park. A line of electric lights on poles threw pools of light along the path, and through the pools of light strolled a man and a woman. They were talking, but Erno could not hear what they were saying. The woman wore a dress clinched tight at the waist, whose skirt flared out stiffly, ending halfway down her calves. The top of her dress had a low neckline that showed off her breasts. The man wore a dark suit like Erno's. They were completely differentiated by their dress, as if they were from different cultures, even species. Erno wondered where Rosamond had gotten the image. As Erno watched, the man nudged the woman to the side of the path beneath one of the trees. He slid his hands around her waist and pressed his body against hers. She yielded softly to his embrace. Erno could not see their faces in the shadows, but they were inches apart. He felt his dick getting hard in his hand. He stepped back from the urinal, turned it off, and closed his pants. As the hum of the recycler died, the restroom door swung open and a woman came in. She glanced at Erno and headed for one of the toilets. Erno went over to the counter and stuck his hands in the cleaner. The woman's presence sparked his anger. Without turning to face her, but watching in the mirror, he said, "Why are you here tonight?" The woman looked up. She had been studying her fingernails, and her eyes locked on his. She was younger than his mother and had a pretty heart-shaped face. "I was curious. People are talking about him." "Do you think men want you here?" "I don't know what men want." "Yes, that's the point, isn't it? Are you learning anything?" "Perhaps." The woman looked back at her hands. "Aren't you Pamela Meg's son?" "So she tells me." Erno pulled his tingling hands out of the cleaner. The woman used the bidet and dried herself. She had a great ass. "Did she bring you, or did you bring her?" she asked. "We brought ourselves," Erno said. He left the restroom. He looked out into the club again, listening to the noise. The crowd was rowdier and more raucous. The men's shouts of encouragement were like barks. Their laughter edged with anger. His mother was still there. He did not want to see her or to have her see him. He went back past the restroom to the end of the hallway. The hall made a right angle into a dead end, but when Erno stepped into the bend, he saw, behind a stack of plastic crates, an old door. He wedged the crates to one side and opened the door enough to slip through. The door opened into a dark, dimly lit space. His steps echoed. As his eyes adjusted to the dim light, he saw it was a very large room hewn out of the rock, empty except for some racks that must have held liquid oxygen cylinders back in the early days of the colony, when the place had been an actual oxygen warehouse. The light came from ancient bioluminescent units on the walls. The club must have been set up in this space years before. The tincture still lent Erno an edge of aggression, and he called out, "I'm Erno, King of the Moon! Ooh, ooh, ooh." The echoes came back, fading to stillness. He kicked an empty cylinder, which rolled forlornly a few meters before it stopped. He wandered around the chill vastness. At the far wall, one of the darker shadows turned out to be an alcove in the stone. Set in the back, barely visible in the dim light, was an ancient pressure door. Erno decided not to mess with it. It could open into vacuum. He went back to the club door and slid into the hallway. Around the corner, two men were just coming out of the restroom, and Erno followed them as if he were just returning as well. The club was more crowded than ever. Every open space was filled with standing men, and others sat cross-legged up front. His mother and another constable had moved to the edge of the stage. "The problem with getting laid all the time is you can't think," Tyler was saying. "I mean, there's only so much blood in the human body. That's why those old Catholics back on Earth put the lock on the Pope's dick. He had an empire to run. The more time he spent taking care of John Thomas, the less time he spent thinking up ways of getting money out of peasants. The secret of our mums is that, if they keep the blood flowing below the belt, it ain't never going to flow back above the shirt collar. Keeps the frequency of radical male ideas down." Tyler leaned over toward the drunk in the first row. "You know what I'm talking about, soldier?" "You bet," the man said. He tried to stand, wobbled, sat down, tried to stand again. "Where do you work?" "Lunox." The man found his balance. "You're right. You—" Tyler patted him on the shoulder. "An oxygen boy. You know what I mean. You're out there on the processing line, and you're thinking about how maybe, if you were to add a little more graphite to the reduction chamber, you could increase efficiency by 15%. And just then, Mary Ellen Swivelhips walks by in her skin tight, and bam!" Tyler made a face of a man who'd been poleaxed. What was I thinking of?" The audience howled. 40 IQ points down the oubliette, and nothing's going to change until we get a handle on this. Am I right, brothers?" More howls, spiked with anger. Tyler was sweating, laughing, trembling as if charged with electricity. "Keep your son close. Penis no, phallus see." Cheers now. Men stood and raised their fists. The drunk saw Erno's mother at the edge of the stage and took a step toward her. He said something, and while she and her partner stood irresolute, he put his big hand on her chest and shoved her away. The other constable discharged his electric club against the man. The drunk's arms flew back, striking a bystander, and two other men surged forward and knocked down the constable. Erno's mother raised her own baton. More constables pushed toward the stage, using their batons, and other men rose to stop them. A table was upended. Shouts echoed. The room was hot as hell and turning into a riot. The first riot in the Society of Cousins in 50 years. As the crowd surged toward the exits or toward the constables, Erno ducked back out to the hallway. He hesitated, and then Tyler Durden came stumbling out of the melee. He took a quick look at Erno. What now, kid? Come with me, Erno said. He grabbed Tyler's arm and pulled him around the bend in the end of the hall, past the crates to the warehouse door. He slammed the door behind them and propped an empty oxygen cylinder against it. We can hide here until the thing dies down. Who are you? My name is Erno. Well, Erno, are we sure we want to hide? Out there is more interesting. Erno decided not to tell Tyler that one of the constables was his mother. Are you serious? I'm always serious. Durden wandered back from the door into the gloom of the cavern. He kicked a piece of rubble, which soared across the room and skidded up against the wall 30 meters away. This place must have been here since the beginning. I'm surprised they're wasting the space. Probably full of toxics. You think so? Erno said. Who knows? Durden went toward the back of the warehouse, and Erno followed. It was cold, and their breath steamed the air. Who would have figured the lights would still be growing? Durden said. A well-established colony can last for 50 years or more, Erno said, as long as there's enough moisture in the air. They break down the rock. You know all about it. I work in biotech, Erno said. I'm a gene hacker. Durden said nothing, and Erno felt the awkwardness of his boast. They reached the far wall. Durden found the pressure door set into the dark alcove. He pulled a flashlight from his belt. The triangular yellow warning signs around the door were faded. He felt around the door seam.